Hi, everyone. Well, this is the DLLS Dallas Stars Postgame Show podcast. We are live from the Lounge Studios, and for the first time, we do a postgame show with Luds. Last time, it was just me and Sam, but it's the three of us tonight. Stars Blues, final preseason game for Dallas, an overtime thriller. Let's get to it right now. This is the DLLS Dallas Stars Podcast. We are live if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening to our audio stream later. Thanks for joining us as I'm Owen Newkirk. We have Sam Nestler. We have Craig Ludwig. Our producer's John Anderson. Don't forget to follow our show, whether it's tonight or any of our daily shows, at DLLS Stars on Twitter or X. We're also on Instagram at _DLLS Stars and at DLLS_sports is our main company Twitter and Instagram handle. All right, guys. First one with you here, Luds. You were in Wisconsin for the last one, which was a little bit better, but this is a dumb one to get this out of the way. If there's anybody that's overly hockey superstitious, the Stars did not go 6-0 in preseason. And there are some out there that would say that going undefeated leads to a bad season, because I believe I saw a stat that said very few teams that have done that make the playoffs or go very far. It doesn't mean much. The 15-16 Dallas Stars that were really good, won the regular season, Central Division and Western Conference titles, if you will. They were 1-6 in 7 preseason games. And I remember Jim Nill even saying preseason doesn't matter, but we were a little worried there after losing 6 of 7. Well, they won 5 of 6. And Luds, doesn't really mean much. The unfortunate part is the one game they lost was the best lineup they faced of the entire preseason.
I thought he was going to say it was one game I was here for.
Well, there's that too.
You know what's funny? Driving down here, I was even kind of thinking, yeah, they don't need to win this game, and not need to or preseason, but I think there can be a little bit of going into the regular season a little cocky. You know what I mean? I don't know. Not that much, but I just think that it's okay to get, knocked back a little bit. And they didn't really get knocked back. They hung around the game tonight. I kind of felt like if I put the game together, I think St. Louis probably had a little more of the edge throughout the game. There were pockets in the game. They stood out a little bit. But again, I think from the management and the coaching staff, I think they know where they are now. They saw what they needed to see over this preseason. And again, the little guy comes through, right? Stankoven. I'm saying Stankoven.
Thought you were talking about me.
We need another buzzer.
You always come through.
It's not Bixel and it's not Stank. People call him Stanky. It's fine. It's Stankoven. That's how he says it.
Logan Stankoven.
But you can call him Stankoven if you want. Or
right,
Stank Oven or whatever.
Good hockey game. They had a good lineup in tonight. St. Louis had a good lineup.
Very good lineup.
They had a heavy lineup in there. I thought the guys did well and missing a few of their bullets. They didn't have all the bullets in the gun tonight. So overall, I think they're going to be obviously very happy as a staff with what they saw over the preseason. I think their evaluations will fall into line in what they thought coming in, and there might be a couple surprises, but I think for the most part, they knew what they were looking at. They wanted to see what they thought, and I think they will.
Sam, your early impressions as the start of the game was all St. Louis. They had all the chances. Kapanen had a really good look on a rebound. He missed. It should have been a goal because Schenn took a shot from the left circle. Oettinger got a nice save on it, but he didn't really control his rebound. It fell very kindly to Kapanen. He has an open net as he turns, and he just shanks it wide.
Yeah, just missed the net. I know it was a lucky one, but they were swarming. I mean, as Lud said, that this game felt very heavily St. Louis favor for the most part. Dallas had some pushes, and they didn't do a terrible job keeping them out to the outside, but they had some breakdowns, and they definitely had some moments where they were doing a bit of swimming in their own end. But early lots of St. Louis and lots of Jake Oettinger.
The good news is that after really getting, I won't say dominated, but I'd say the Blues carried the play early. Stars got a power play. And we haven't seen a lot of the special teams, or at least we haven't evaluated a lot. That Colorado game, there were a ton of penalties in Denver. But they got a goal doing exactly what you need to do on a power play, which is not try to be fancy and rip shots from outside. They got a shot to the net and they crashed it. And in the chaos, Dodonov gave him the lead.
Yeah, and look where he scored it from. Right standing on top of the crease, if not just in it. So, and I think when early, whether it's early on in the season, but you don't have all of your regular pieces on the power play, you do try to dumb it down a little bit. Them little plays that the guys are used to when they get into game 40, 45, and everybody is where they're supposed to be and they're clicking. Then I think you start seeing guys zip it around a little bit more. But I think they approach their power plays tonight in the right way.
What do you think about Dodonov, Sam? Because he looks so comfortable in that role, and we know that when everybody's healthy, Robertson is going to go on that top unit. We anticipate Wyatt Johnston. Of course, Miro's going to be on that top part.
Yep.
There's no room for Dodonov there, yet he's perfectly capable of being a power play guy.
He kind of feels like the Joel Hanley of the forward group to me, where he not necessarily in terms of sitting out, but in terms of you can put him anywhere and he's going to have success. I mean, I feel like he could play on the top line. He feel like he can play on the fourth line. I feel like he can play on the power play. He does a great job everywhere. He's super creative. I think we were talking about it after one of the last games. He's so creative with the puck. It doesn't matter who he's playing for or who he's playing with or what situation they're in. He's a wizard with the puck, and he shows it. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of, again, too deep. The team is too deep to have guys that can play on a power play that may not.
Well, I've been saying it for a while, Luds. Having Dodonov on your top line is fine, but you're a way better team if he's on your fourth line. And that's not a slight on him. It just shows how much more depth you have.
Oh, I think he's like a Swiss Army knife. I mean, he can play up top for a limited amount of time. You're not, like you said, you're not going to get a steady diet with Robo and Hintz or something like that. But I think when you have holes, if you need a power play, a penalty kill, he gives you the energy. You know what you're getting out of him. When I said this, a couple of weeks ago too, like when he first came here to Dallas, and I looked and I'm like, man, he's been on 4 teams in 5 years. I'm like, what are these guys expecting? But pleasantly surprised with him. You get an effort out of him all the time. And what I really love about him, he goes to the front of the net. He scored a lot of goals, and he does have some hands on him, but I like that he goes to the front of the net, and tonight gets rewarded for it.
How about that pass by Ben to Hintz? I believe it was Hintz that had the original shot.
He had 2. He had the first shot from Ben, then he got his rebound, took another one, and that's the one that Dodonov put away.
I think we get so spoiled by some of the players that are on this team that we forget that Jamie Benn is an excellent playmaker, and he still is. Yeah. And he won the Art Ross Trophy. It wasn't a mistake, but that's a great little pass and such a sneaky little play where it's not a huge pass, not a big saucer pass, just a little backhand pass through the seam that's there right on the stick, and that leads to the goal.
You know why I think he makes all those good little plays? He gets a little more space and time than other players. Like that particular play that he made that little backhand pass on, I think it was somebody else. They may come up behind him and kind of run him into the boards, whoever it is. They know that if you're going to do that against Jamie, eventually he's probably going to get you back. And so I think those kind of players, you play hard on them, but not too hard. You don't want to get them upset and have something come back to haunt you. So it's nice when you have that extra second or two to make that play.
So that's still a real part of the game with some guys like Jamie Benn.
For sure. I mean, and Jamie's got a reputation. I mean, we've seen what he's done over his career, and they know. And again, I always go back to Darian, and I think about Hatch, and there were games when Hatch wasn't Hatch. And if I'm sitting on the other bench, I'd be like, just let him sleep. Don't anybody go run him. Don't chop him in the leg. Don't do anything to him. And then there'd be the games where first or second shift, he'd come out and run somebody, and you'd go, Big Daddy's here tonight, and so there's other players like that around the league that are good players, and you're like, don't wake them up. And I think that'd be the same thing for Jamie.
So it's amazing how after a really sluggish start to the period, after that power play, they get the goal. They carried the play for a bit themselves. And at the end of the period, it was 9-9 in chances by my count. The shots were almost even. It was 10-8 St. Louis. But it felt like a pretty balanced 20 minutes at the end of it, where both teams had times where they were not dominant, but better than the other. You're going to hear every coach in the league say, look, you can't dominate for 60 minutes. It doesn't matter if you're the best team in the league playing the worst team in the league. The margins are so thin that you're going to have to weather the storm when you're not on the front foot, whether it's in a period, in a game, or throughout the season.
For me, I would say that when you look at the game as a whole, I'd have to say that the guys in the dark jerseys had the interior ice a little bit more than the Dallas team. And what I mean by that we kind of talk about the face-off dots from one end of the rink to the other end, and if you can play inside those dots at both ends of the rink and through the middle of the ice, you tend to get more chances in the offensive zone, and you can kind of shield things away from your own goaltender. And I think St. Louis did a pretty good job tonight getting in, even though Dallas had some times where they had numbers and things like that, but there were St. Louis players in between those numbers or in front of the net.
Well, if you didn't know, if you thought it was pretty balanced in the first period, it wasn't in the second.
Yeah, a little
St. Louis came out with the long change, and Dallas was second best. And they tied it up after a slew of chances, including I had two high danger ones. One where Jordan Kyrou, who we'll hear about again later, came down on a 2-on-1, ripped one. Ottinger made a really good save. And then Texier had three chances in a row. The third one, he had a one-timer in the low slot where I don't know if anybody was looking at him. He just came right down the middle. Pass came out, and he hammered it. Again, Ottinger made the save, but then they couldn't ever, even though they got a clear during that sequence, they couldn't get the defensive pair off the ice, Luds, because of the distance to the far bench.
That second period, and you hear it harped on all the time at the start of the second periods for both clubs. It's always short shifts. Come off before you're tired. And it's the one thing you don't want to have happen is you get out there for 30, 40, 45 seconds in your own end. You're coming up through the middle of the ice and you want the puck to get in deep at the offensive blue line. It doesn't get in, especially for defensemen. And you're just coming out of your own zone. The next thing you know, the puck's coming right back at you. And that's what happened tonight. And you can always tell when players start getting straight-legged, they're out of gas.
And it doesn't take much, right? I feel like that was Smith and Lundqvist that were out there for that shift. It felt like it was 4 minutes long. But it wasn't, watching it back, it wasn't like they were making the egregious turnover. It's just one little play. You maybe don't get a piece of it to get it out of the zone, and all of a sudden that turns into a 2-minute shift, and you're chasing like crazy.
Isn't it? It's exactly what the NHL wanted when they put in, you can't shoot the puck out of the rink, and you can't ice it.
Yep.
Because if you ice it, the players are staying right out there anyways. And you put it out of the rink, you're getting, you're back on the PK. So it's exactly what they wanted. Back in the day, you could fire them pucks out, and you got your whistle, and you were done. So no, and you can, they're all talking about it. Every team will talk about it. And you're like, hey, they got tired guys. Keep it going in deep. Don't let them freeze it, and keep it away from the goaltender if you can. We don't want a frozen puck. We want to keep them going. So it's a tactic if you can do it.
Is it easier, as say you're a defenseman, you're Nils or Smith there? Is it easier to ice it?
I'm more like Smith than Nils.
Is it easier to ice it, reset, and take a face off? Even though you're tired and gassed, you might get stuck out there again. It feels to me, at least, that it's easier than
you
just
at least
continuously.
get a couple seconds.
Yeah,
right. You get a couple seconds.
I'm just surprised I don't see it more.
Yeah, and what I'm surprised is you don't break your stick. Like a lot of times when the puck is going down. Now, I mean, again, I know that they're all looking for that kind of stuff, but there's times you can step on your blade and say, "Hey, I got a broken stick here. I got to go change." So. But yeah, you have a better opportunity, even if you can get it at put it on net.
Yep.
I mean, so many of these guys are so good with that, at the empty netter at games. But the problem is the goaltenders are so damn good today, and they can move it up, and you're trying to change. So you're kind of out of luck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why, you get your 30, 40 seconds, especially for the big defensemen, the big forwards that are, more physical players, get off the ice when you can.
So Matthew Joseph scores right at the end of a long shift. 8:33 was the time of the goal. Kapanen and Shen the setup. Let me ask you that. Can we trade Brendan Smith for Joel Hanley?
Joel Hanley's already trying to get
honestly,
back.
I think there will be a conversation as we get into the season about, and we'll see, let's see a sample size for Brendan Smith with the Stars. Joel Hanley was a very nice little piece for this team because there are very few people that can sit for 20 games, come in and do the exact same thing they did if they were playing for 20 straight games. That's not an easy skill to do.
Fusion Mix is paying attention.
Yeah. Okay, you ready to play a little quick trivia game?
Oh, boy.
On that
I'm
goal,
so good at this game.
Yeah.
On that goal, Nils Lundqvist and Brendan Smith were on the ice for a rather long period of time. So I looked it up. How long was their shift? Want to take a guess?
I'm going to say 240.
210.
What's it?
He's just going to – he doesn't
Does he even know the answer?
He doesn't.
Enough of the soundbite.
Well, if we're not going Price is Right rules, we're just going closest to the actual number.
Okay.
Luds wins.
What was it?
235.
Wow.
That's a long shift for a defenseman.
And to Brendan Smith, it seemed like 435. No, I promise you, I've been in that situation, and you could see it. I mean, you like I said, your legs get straight, and for some reason, your upper body is over the top of your lower body, and you can't move, and you're yelling. you're yelling at get it out, get it in, but a lot of times you'll see a lung come flying out because you got nothing left
Well,
in you.
isn't that why we talk about players showing up in such good shape and things like that? That's why right there, right? So because when you're in that situation, it doesn't happen all the time, but you're in a minute and a half shift, you're stuck in your end, you need to be able to make a play to get out of the situation.
Yeah, but I think I'd rather be Nils in that situation than Smith because size-wise, a little heavier, a little bigger. He might be a couple years older.
Just a few.
Yeah. So
I think it's a decade, actually.
Yeah, I think it's a solid decade.
Coming up next on the show, we are going to talk about what the track meet happened for the next little bit of the second period here on the DLLS Dallas Stars postgame show.
Let's talk about Rhoback. Rhoback activewear is quite simple. The best fit and the best feel of all activewear out there. The quality of the gear speaks for itself. Their performance polos perform better in the heat than any other polo. They're moisture wicking, so the polo won't stick to you, and they have such a nice stretch, you'll feel like you're lounging in your pajamas even if you're out on the golf course. They have the performance polo is the best looking, best fitting performance polo out there, period. Collars will never lose their shape, and they have it all. They have all the options. They have the solids, they have the stripes, and they have all the fun prints if you want to go that way. If you want the perfect blend of comfort, style, and versatility, and let's be honest, why wouldn't you? Use the code DLLS20 on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's DLLS20 at Rhoback.com, RHOBACK.com, for 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts using the code DLLS20. Make sure to check them out, and they'll have you ready for whatever travels or activities you have coming.
Let's talk about Shady Rays. We actually got a delivery of Shady Rays to the office today, but we weren't there because we were here for tonight's game. So everybody else at DLLS got their complimentary pair of Shady Rays that they put in for, except for us. Now, maybe we'll get it tomorrow, but we don't have it right now.
Wanted to wear it on the show.
Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades from Shady Rays. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. And they are an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Durable frames, crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor activities. So, exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of this season. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, let's get to the rest of the second period. It's 1-1, Stars and Blues, and after the Blues scored, Dallas hadn't had a quality scoring chance in the first 8.5 minutes of the second period, completely hemmed in. And then your boy, Stankoven, got him going with a wrister in the slot. I mean, he was wide open. Binnington made a great save, and it was back and forth. Justin Falk had a high danger chance at one end. Jamiebenn on a 2-on-1. Harley had one. I thought the goaltenders looked pretty sharp. The defense, and I say that collectively as a team, looked a little stretched.
Are we talking about both sides or just one?
Both sides.
Both.
Yeah,
at
both
that
sides.
point.
Yeah. They were, and they got loose. And I think the game gets revved up, and I think in today's game especially, the defensemen are asked to get up and involved in the play, and next thing you know, you're playing a bit of a track meet, and you're back and forth. And for defensemen, you kind of chase them back to your own net, and that's when you usually run into problems.
So we saw a couple times with maybe like a Thomas Harley getting, like you mentioned, trying to get up in the play.
Yep.
But sometimes you have to be a defenseman first. How do you balance that in today's age, especially on this team?
Time and score. That's my thing, is the time and score of the game. And, like you're up by a goal, you don't have to press as much. I get it, trying to get up by 2, but the other team, as the clock ticks away, they're the ones that got to press. And so, but you always, I think for defensemen especially, you have to look around, make sure that you've got somebody back for you. And Thomas does it a lot, and they've had great success. They score a lot of goals, right? But you want to jump out of the defensive zone a little too quick for me. You know what I mean? There's times when there's only one forward ahead, and you're, and guys are kind of skating on the move, and they're kind of pointed north all the time. They're pointed towards the other team's net, but you still have to be able to recognize who you're with, and the percentages of that puck is getting out of the first blue line, and so sometimes you take that chance. Now you're in the third period and you're down a goal and there's 6 minutes to go. little different time, you kind of jump up and you try to create a little bit more. But I just think it's being aware of the time and the score, the flow of the game, and do we really need a goal right now? And so there's a lot of things that go into it, I think.
Two things to point out in the second period. It ended up 1-1 after 40 minutes of play. Ryan Suter scored a goal on a complete flub of a one-timer. He basically hit a knuckle puck.
Got a hold of that one.
Chunked it, and the thing wobbled in. But it was actually challenged by the Stars coaching staff for a goalie interference. There was contact with Jake Oettinger in the crease. Luddy, I didn't think there was a lot, but it was letter of the law, forward standing for St. Louis in the crease, makes contact with the goalie. Goalie's he is obligated, or he's allowed to have his space. Letter of the law, you like the call?
Very much. There was no push from any player on Dallas' side to push him into the blue paint. The defenseman was standing just above the crease. And so, and again, from the St. Louis standpoint, you want to be in front of the goaltender. You don't want to stand in front of a defenseman so he can kind of move you on the shot. He kind of steps around him, tries to get ice. And it wasn't anything egregious. I don't think he really bumped into Jake or anything like that. But it did obstruct him enough that he couldn't see the puck. So it's the correct call.
Yeah, and it's a goalie, like, this may seem so small, but it's a goalie doing what he knows to do. He knows not only that he needs to come to cut down the angle on that shot, but he knows he needs to get up against that Blues forward because he's not going to be able to see the puck. If he stays back and just tries to play it, that puck goes in, and it's not a goalie interference call. So Jake makes the right play, gets out in front of it, and forces that call.
There was about 6.5 minutes to go in the second period. There was not a single quality scoring chance for either team over the rest of the middle frame.
Good defense?
It was not a real pretty end to the second period. But here's a problem. Maverick Bourque. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I saw somebody else tweeting about they haven't seen him for a while, so I went and looked. Maverick Bourque only played a grand total of, I think, 6 minutes of ice time tonight. Let me double check to make sure I get my numbers exactly
5:39.
Right. 5:39. His last shift, guys, came 2:18 into the second period for 43 seconds, so it's a normal shift length. Ended at 3:01. That means with almost 17 minutes remaining in the second period, and he did not come back. That's only 9 shifts. 8 shifts in the first period, normal frame, 1 in the second. I know he's been dealing with something minor, and we said it was a good sign that he played. But Sam, the fact that he came out after that, I mean, I guess optimistically you hope it's a precautionary thing, but that's concerning going into the opener 1 week from tonight.
No, it is, because obviously they felt he was ready enough to come play in this game, right? It's not like the plan was for him to come fly to St. Louis to play 5 minutes. That wasn't the plan.
Johnston
and they
out.
left other guys out for that
Robertson
reason.
Out.
So you hope it's just something that flared up on the situation that he has going on. But yeah, there's no it's not a good thing no matter what. I'll tell you that right now.
I think it's a young player that wants to play. He wants to. I want to be on this team, and I want to play. And because ultimately, the trainers and the coaches or whoever's all going to talk. How you doing? I'm good, coach. I'm good to go. And especially when it's not. I mean, it's not like it's a fracture, and you can take an X-ray and see that it's healing and things like that. I don't know what it is, but obviously it's something, like you said, not that bad, and he felt he could go. And he didn't look even in the 5 minutes that he played. We've seen him play, and he can get up and go. You didn't. You saw him kind of in traffic. He couldn't pull away from traffic a couple times. So, I think it was still lingering. But to me, it's a case of a kid that wants to get out there and prove that he's supposed to be here.
Right. I mean, that's hockey culture, right? It's playing until you get dragged off the ice or can't stand up. How do you, as a coach, a training staff, a front office, keep the player from trying too hard to be on the ice?
Well, you don't. Like I said, I just think that at the end of the day, they've been rehabbing, they've been doing the things, and he's testing and he's skating in practice and stuff like that. And probably it was still there. There was something there, and maybe it's just hopefully it's nothing that you can reoccurring kind of thing, and then it gets a little worse. And I think you guys are right. He probably went back, told Dave, told the trainer, and said, "Listen, I tweaked it, and okay, you're done."
Yeah. No reason. Playoff game, you're coming back out.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, guys, is the technology that is used by the clubs now. They have a big sports performance department, a lot of really smart people, and they have tracking devices in the gear. I think it's usually in the shoulder pads.
I've had one of them on once.
What do you think?
The tracking device?
Did you notice it? Oh, a different one. Are you talking about the one on the ankle?
One on the ankle.
That one was a little different.
But this is what I'm talking about, is that, in days before this technology, you had to take the player's word for it or use the eye test to know if they're lingering with something. Usually a sharp-eyed person in hockey can see somebody's just not right. But if you really can't tell, well, they can pull up their practice GPS times and see if their skating speeds are a little
Yeah,
slower,
it's wild.
heart rates are different, and I'm sure there's some metrics that they can track to see. Well, you maybe you're just tired, or maybe something's hurt because your numbers aren't there.
Maybe you didn't get home on time. Like, I don't like the idea. I mean, because again,
You feel like it's too personal,
well, no,
or invasion of privacy.
I just I wanted to play through things, and if you're telling you that I'm not 100% healthy, but because again, our philosophy back in the day for guys like me is, you get down the road 7, 8, 9, 10 years and beyond, and you don't go out and play in a hockey game, and you give some young kid that's 21, 22 years old an opportunity to get in the lineup. There's somebody sitting upstairs going, that kid's pretty good. And what does he make? And what does he make?
An opportunity.
Yeah. And so you're just leaving a crack in the door, So
and you said you were kind of being self-deprecating, which is it's charming, but you said you always felt like
another one. Mark that down. I got to go look that
Go
one
look
up now.
But you said you always had to look. You always had to try to earn your spot. You never felt like you could ever take for granted your lineup spot.
I don't think any player really should. I think if you can approach again, my thing was, and there's a board up there, and when you come in the morning, and you got the other teams line up on there, and you got your teams line up on the board, whether you're on home or road. And my goal is that my name was going to be on that board the next game. And after I played my thousands and 1100, I approached it the same way, because I knew that whether you were a younger guy, again, you're not Mike Modano, you're not Rupe, you're not Robo, guys that are. There's no way that ownership especially want to see a player that's making 10, 11, 12 million dollars sitting in the stands. So they want him in the lineup. And, we just kind of approached it differently, where, we're that kind of a player, and I can't give you an opportunity to take my spot.
Going into the third period, we're going to get to that in just a second, but when you look at the final numbers after 2 periods of play, it's a 1-1 game. It's not an even game. At this point, St. Louis has started to exert its control. Sure, the Stars had some quality chances at the end. I talked about Stankoven, Ben, Cole Lind had a couple.
Stan. He said Stank it. Run it back.
I said Stankoven. But anyway, the point is that St. Louis clearly had the edge in shots, shot attempts, etc. Oh, look, it's our boss. This is the last time I let Owen wear a Liverpool shirt on the show.
But he's saying it because he's a fan of another soccer team, not just because he doesn't
play
want soccer.
No, they're two soccer.
Did you not notice that Ben's worn a soccer jersey every day?
Every single day.
People's wardrobe.
Come on,
it's
boss.
a
you already
bright
stole
Mercedes
our sunglasses
logo on the
today.
front. That's the only reason why I know. I don't know what team it is. What team is Ben like? Chelsea?
He's a big Chelsea fan.
Chelsea Dagger, eh?
Yep. No, not quite. But I just chirped him for not giving us our shady rays. So
yeah, come on,
Ben.
Ben.
Good.
Yeah,
okay, wear your soccer shirt.
I can't see the lights so bright. I wish I had my shady rays.
So let's go to the third period. Starts with some bad defending. This one, the Blues take the lead. Look, you could say it was coming because they were outplaying the Stars. But just a minute and 23 into the third period, new Blue, former Oiler, Philip Broberg, just pounded one home from the mid-slot. Robert Thomas with an absolutely beautiful pass. But this is not D-zone coverage 101 we got exhibited right there.
I go back to what I just said a little earlier. You go from the face-off dots from one end of the rink to the other, and you need to have more bodies there, and there was nobody there. And we've seen it throughout the night. On the beginning of the show, if anybody was listening, we talked about how you play.
I like you. You're
if
not
anybody was
assuming that
listening,
they were
I don't
listening.
know.
They might not be.
John was here.
You never know. It's a late show.
Just ask if Sam is paying attention.
You try to play with numbers, and you try to have 5 numbers on a quadrant of the ice, especially when the other team has the puck. A little bit more difficult for them coming out. But being that you're with those 5 numbers, you have to have your head on a swivel, we'll call it. You have to be able to look behind you. You can't just face and stare at the puck. And tonight there were 3 or 4 times that we saw it, we stopped, we froze it a little bit. So for anybody that's at home actually watching this right now, there's a couple clips on here where we got 4 or 5 guys that are around. They're from the hash marks down. They're in that good area of the ice that I talk about. But unfortunately,
this is first period.
Yeah, this is the first period. This is the first one that we pulled off about the 10-minute mark. The only problem with this one particular clip that we're looking at is there's 3 blue jerseys inside the 4 or 5 jerseys. So you're in the right area of the ice, but you didn't box or seal anybody out. And so all of a sudden, Jake has got to look around a few more bodies than he has to. And we had a couple more clips. And there's one again, when the pucks are in the corner of the rink, you got the guys in the right spot, but everybody's staring at the puck. There's not one head that's turned around looking at where your coverage would be. And then you go to the one where the goal was scored.
Before you change this, Luddy, you're okay with the positioning here. You just want one or two of the guys that aren't engaged with a Blues player to be checking their back shoulder.
Well, first off, you got all the 5 numbers in the right where they should be, except you got 2 blue jerseys standing, one almost in the crease and one's in the high slot, where these are 2 prime areas. And so you have to listen. This is how you draw it up on the board, but the only way things that you draw up on the board actually work out is if you've got the other team in the room and they, this is where you want me to stand. And they go where
they're supposed to
where
be.
they're supposed to go. Yeah. So that's not the way the game is played. So, again, it's having your head on the swivel, and you can tell we've got, including the goaltender, and that's not on Jake, but everybody's heads are looked towards the corner. Nobody's turned around. They don't see what's behind them. That's the problem with this one. The goal that you're talking about was another example. We got everybody kind of staring. We got them down inside the hash mark. But, again, they're not in the middle of the ice. And so in comes the new guy, Doug Armstrong, with the offer sheet, and comes in and pounds one right from the dead heart of the slot. Not really a chance for Jake Oettinger on this.
Going to say, Sam, you're not giving Jake Oettinger a whole lot of help with that particular
No, I mean,
play.
it's a one-timer from the perfect place to shoot, and the pass is coming from the corner, which is a very hard move for Jake to turn his head, get squared, and make the save. So it's a very hard shot. But I'm curious, John, can you throw up the second one where they're in the corner? So, Luds, this might be a really dumb question, but the Stars practice a drill all the time, right? All the time, where the puck goes in the corner, and they all come in, and they get to their spot, and they skate away. When they do that, I told you it's going to be dumb. When they do that, they're all looking at the puck because there's nobody else on the ice, right?
Let me ask you a question. Are there 5 other guys?
No, there's nobody.
There's my point.
So my question is, could this be a little bit too much of we've been doing this for 2 weeks in training camp, and we haven't adjusted yet?
If you're going to do this day after day in practice, have an opposing team out there,
right,
so that you can get used to looking around. But it's good to go through it. You go through it.
Yeah, they're in the right spots.
I mean,
that's key.
This is all muscle memory. It's repetition. But I can understand, and we do the same things. And that the puck would transfer from one side of the ice to the other corner. All 5 guys would come off, get into their spots. But then you have to throw in your 5 guys. You got to do it live. You kind of do it from half ice in, and so that you're playing against competition. Which, again, this is nothing new. They know this. But early on, here's the other thing with some of this coverage. You've got some young guys playing here. Okay, you've got young players that are playing here. They haven't, probably haven't grasped the whole system and everything else. I think you got to give them a little pass on this, because once Dallas gets to, and again, they're not going to have a lot of new guys on this team. I don't think they're going to have a lot of guys returning, right? So
and
they
most
know
of the new
system.
guys are older guys.
Yeah,
right. The Dumbas, the Bushkins, Brendan Smith. I mean, it's all defensive guys,
and they should know how to play on their own end. I would hope, and we all.
Well, we're going to find out.
We all hope, yeah. But like I was saying, is you got veteran guys, and they played in these systems too. So right now, you still got some young kids that probably aren't programmed yet, because a lot of times young players come in, and wherever junior team, college team they come in, part of the program is you have to deprogram, and then you got to reprogram.
Up next on the DLLS Dallas Stars podcast, more goals in the third period to be discussed.
Sleeper, my favorite. Sleeper is the best fantasy league out there. Put your ball knowledge to the test, soon to be puck knowledge, by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less in their projected stats each week. This weekend, the local banged-up Cowboys defense are going to be in Pittsburgh, the Steel Curtain, on Sunday Night Football. First of all, I'll take the Steelers because go black and gold.
Ooh.
Second, Najee Harris rushed more than 63.5 yards. Book it. That's going to happen. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts, breaking news, and major injuries. If you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app, use the code DLLS Stars to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
Time to talk about Empire today. With Empire today, you get to shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, speed, etc. So competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices because anyone who does is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in their own. Now, we had a show yesterday with Josh Bogorod, the Stars play-by-play voice here, and our very own GM, who's trying to enforce some ridiculous dress code and hoarding sunglasses, spilled a adult beverage on the Empire Today flooring. And guess what? There is no sign of it. The flooring held up beautifully even to a wild spill. So for our DLLS listeners, you can receive $350 off. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
I think what you're trying to say is he didn't know how to drink a Miller Lite.
Or
neither did I.
Didn't know how to handle it at the beginning.
Well, it was a big can.
Dropped it.
There you go.
Little
Picked
guy
it
in the
up.
middle here was
He's
complaining
confirming they're in the office. Little guy in the middle, Luds just called me.
Oh, did you catch
He
that?
thought it was going to slip right under there, but as I was talking,
Wait, is
I
the
still
door
heard.
unlocked?
Little guy in the
Well, I
middle.
guess we can find out. Here's the real question. Luds mentioned an ankle monitor earlier. Do you have any skills that would suggest you could get into that office?
I can get in.
Yeah.
Not even worried about it.
Oh,
Our producer just
we
went
don't
to
have
try
a
it, too.
producer right now because
So-
he is attempting it.
All right, so let's continue our talk about the third period of tonight's preseason game. The Stars were losing 2-1 on the Philip Broberg goal. We just broke down the D-zone coverage. We saw some bad negative trends in the first period that led to exactly that. The five guys watching the puck. Right down Main Street comes Broberg. Well, then the Stars get a power play. It's their second of the game. This one was unsuccessful, but Cole Lind had a couple of chances, including a really good one from the lower part of the right circle. I'm not saying Cole Lind is going to make this opening night roster for sure, but he really impressed me over the course of preseason, not just tonight. Oh, look at that. He stole somebody's glasses. And what really is impressive to me is he looks like he belongs on that power play. Now, it's not going to be – he's in Jason Robertson's spot, so he's not going to be on that unit. But I would not at all be shocked if Cole Lind was playing against Nashville next week.
I will be.
You, William?
Yeah. You, Sam?
I would be surprised if he's in the lineup. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one they pick as that 13th spot
think so?
to travel with them, because I think the key word here is consistency with Cole Lind. We've talked about the Hoorus and Becks and Blumels all through the preseason. Lind has just consistently been solid. He finishes each game with 2 to 4. I think he co-led the game with 4 shots with Stankoven, and he's just looked solid. Are those yours?
Aviators?
Looks like Ponch from Chips.
Are those the ones you actually got or no?
I don't know. Does it say my name on it? Yeah, it does.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a different pair of the ones I actually bought before I knew we were going to get a complimentary pair. So
You got to go
I
styling.
figured I'd go Aviators
Look
since
out
I already
for-
have the.
Look out for
big
Top Gun
black
over
fruit.
here,
Wait,
eh?
did you put an order in for him? You were asking?
Oh, you didn't do the Google Doc.
Did Luddy put his in?
I
Or are you just hoping to get a pair?
Oh, so you're
yeah,
not
that's
getting.
what I thought the deal was. We got your glasses.
You do, but you have to tell them which ones you want. There's like 40 different kinds, so you don't have any.
Oh my goodness!
I don't know. You know I don't know how to do the Google Doc.
Just get
or
on there
whatever it's called,
get
or
on
the
there and get your Google Doc.
Shawshank page.
All
or
you
none
gotta
of that
do is
I'm
stuff.
surprised.
Log into your TikTok. You got to get on the Reels, and then you go on Grinder and you throw on the Google Doc.
Go on Grinder.
I'm
Yeah.
just surprised you didn't send your carrier pigeon.
Oh, man.
No,
No,
Weren't we
anyway.
talking about fax machines earlier?
I need an assistant.
You do.
That's what I need. I need
Yes.
somebody to do the.
What does it pay?
It doesn't.
Well, hey, kudos to our producer, John Anderson, for getting all those still clips for us, because Letty's going to be bothering him about this. And for good reason. I think it'll benefit the show. But pretty much every game, we're going to have you telling John, I want that clip right there. Let's put that one in. And it's good visual aid. So
And we figured out how to rewind our TV tonight. So
see,
we're
and
rolling,
so you
man.
contributed too.
yeah,
Yeah, fantastic.
course.
So where were we?
I don't know.
Folks at home, this is called fill. We're trying to fill time right now.
So it's
And I
still
wish
2-1.
Phil was here.
So you're not necessarily thinking it's Cole Lind.
I
do you think it's
I
gonna
just
be?
think I don't know how you crack that one spot.
Boy, I'm not sure either.
I don't. That's right. It's nothing
Yeah.
against them.
Yeah.
I
Nothing
had
at
a
all.
hit. I honestly thought it might
We
be.
saw the lineup, right? We had people write in. We saw the lines.
Yep.
We talked about the lines. Was Lynn on any of them boards?
No, you're right. Okay.
Well, so is he the 13th forward that travels to Nashville?
That's what
That's
I'm
the other
thinking about
question.
because here's
if Maverick doesn't,
but I'm saying if the Stars are fully healthy,
and
they're going to carry 13 to Nashville.
That Jason Robertson plays in Nashville.
If they're fully healthy, I'm assuming they'll carry 13 on their first trip.
Luddy's right. I said the same thing. I think it's going to be Steele, Dodonov, Steele, and Blackwell.
Yeah, agreed.
So there's no room for anybody, but you are going to have a 13th forward. They have the cap space for it. They don't need to go to Nashville with 12.
What about R2D2? Not tonight, huh?
No, but it's nothing bad. It's just that if I was to pick, I wouldn't say any of those guys played poorly at all preseason. I think they were very solid, but Lind has stood out to me most every game.
If there's an injury and he's a 13th guy, don't you? I mean, he's an offensive guy, right? I mean, he's power play.
He's both, but yeah, he can play on the power play.
But isn't someone like R2 more of a rounded player that would fit in that role?
I think so.
I'm not saying it's going to be R2.
I just wonder about him being learning the North American game a little bit more, right? This is his first time playing over on this side of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
And so it might take a lot. I'm sorry. I'm just rubbing it in with you now. I'll take him off. Because I can see him just looking daggers right through the lenses. By the way, you can still see with these bright TV lights. You'd like them.
We wouldn't know.
No,
we don't know.
Well, anyway,
I didn't get any
thank
either.
You to Shady Rays. I very much appreciate that. And no thanks to our boss
John,
for
can you still get back into that office? Because I'm sure my pair is on the desk. Well, I'm under Rads.
I submitted my name as Rads.
As far as I know,
John
the
Radigan's
baseball
glasses.
guys are done, right? Rads is done. Yeah, exactly, and he's not going to be here, and he's my buddy, so he'd say, "Let Luds have him." Okay. Well, wait, you go get. All right, here we go.
Okay, so it's 2-1, and Broberg's involved again, but this time it's actually on a rebound because he takes a slap shot from the left circle. Ottinger makes the save, and Kasperi Kapanen, who was very noticeable tonight for the Blues, I thought he was a really solid player. They had a bunch of guys that stood out, which was sort of a negative for the Stars, but he scores from an impossible angle in the corner into an open net.
Yeah, nice little back. That's awareness where you are on the ice. Yeah, I mean, that's just guys that have a touch, a little spinorama, and you're at a poor angle, and you put it in a general direction, and you do that so you're hoping the goaltender doesn't find his crease, and he did.
It's as much as I don't want to see him do it too much and get injured doing it. Jake sold out on that to get over. I think he gets a piece of it. It actually goes off of him and in. At least it looked like it did. But yeah, it's another one of those plays where I think that Luds would cringe a little bit at the defensive coverage. It just seems like guys were just getting lost, and that was right about the time the Blues were just coming downhill. But it's a nice little sneaky backhand to get it in there.
And when you talk about coverage, and like I said, there's some new guys in the lineup. When one in that kind of a system, when you expect guys to be in certain spots, if there's one chink, then it opens up another chink. And that's what they're not, nobody in the coaching staff's panicking about a couple guys being out of position because they know they've got guys that have been doing it for a few years. So they're going to be fine. Their core guys you're not going to see that. I don't think you're going to see those kind of cracks show up from the team.
But it's the same problem with forecheck pressure or pressure, let's say in the D zone, whether it's 5-on-5 or if you're penalty killing. If you're going to pressure with more than one, and it really, if you're going to do more like a full-on 5-man pressure, whatever, it's got to be everybody.
Yep.
Because if one guy is a step late, that's that chink, and it leads to the snowball effect. And I know you love it when I compare it to soccer, but it's the same thing. If one guy goes, it's easy to pass around that. If everybody covers, you might leave the last guy open, but it's really hard to get that pass through. Same with hockey, right?
Yeah.
If everybody goes and you take away all the easy outs, then there's no lane to get to the open guy, and then you can get that overload and steal a puck.
Yeah, you just got to be careful you don't bump into one of those guys in soccer because then you got to bring the stretcher out and carry him off.
I thought he was going to say something serious there. So
I, for a minute, thought he was really getting into it, and then I just took another shot.
So, Luz, isn't that kind of how a forecheck works in general? If you break it down like that, if F1 goes and does his job and F2's in the right spot, you're in a good spot. If F1 goes, and even if he does his job and F2 is late or behind, whatever, all of a sudden that guy's got to pass, and it's an easy breakout and probably an odd man rush.
That's why it's repetition. You do it over and over again so that everybody knows where they're supposed to be. And it doesn't always work out. And there's going to be guys that are late. That's why the third guy high always comes into play. That guy sees what's ahead of him that F1 and F2 are doing, and because you can't just send one guy down the wall, one guy into the other corner, and have the third guy just kind of take off to one side or the other. Next thing you know, there's a little pop out, and then it's a 3-on-2 the other way. So again, just like you said, you're watching them do those drills in practice, and it's all about muscle memory, and it's about everybody's got to be in their spots at the right time, but you always have to expect something bad to happen. I mean, even for me on face-offs, when guys do face-offs and take face-offs and things like that, you have a certain setup. We win the draw. This is where you're going. This is where we're going. But you have to expect bad things to happen. We don't win the draw, because if you're supposed to slide out for a one-timer and you lose the face-off and you still slide out, now there's a hole through the middle of the ice. Same thing in coverage.
Don't forget to send us your questions or comments in the chat. We'll happily answer them if we have time toward the end of our show. Coming up next, let's talk about the Logan Stankoven comeback here on the DLLS Dallas Stars postgame show. Now we're going to talk about something. What are we talking about? We're talking about
Something.
DLLS, an internal read, because
Same as every other day.
couldn't get the file to open up. Dallas DLLS Die Hard program is something that adds on. Look, I think it's great that everything we do on our YouTube audio streaming is free. Everybody can get it. You can watch, you can listen. It doesn't cost you anything other than have a device that you can stream it, whether it's video or audio. We do not charge for our show, which is really important. But there is an enhanced premium tier called the Diehards. And in doing that, you can get extra things, and you can be the most plugged in DLLS fan of Stars, Mavericks, Rangers, Cowboys. By doing your annual subscription, not only do you get inside access to the articles that Sam, that Sean write for the Stars, and all the other sports that DLLS covers, you also can get merchandise discount. If you can get a free t-shirt for the first year, that's a big deal. You get a free t-shirt for the next year, and every other year that you sign up to be a diehard, you can get one of our great DLLS merchandise shirts. You pick, you get a promo code, never expires. You also can get ads removed from the written side. So if you're on our website and you're scrolling, all right, reading Sam's 3 thoughts about tonight's game, he still has to write it, by the way. Guess what? No ads if you're a diehard. And then, of course, Luddy in the Discord, the damn Discord. You have access to that where you can get into more give and take with our show, because unless you're watching live on YouTube and joining the YouTube chat, if you're watching YouTube later or listening to the audio, guess what? You can't interact with us because we've already recorded the show. But if you're on the Die Hard Discord, then you can submit your questions. We can see those and go to our next show and use it, or the weekly damn Discord with Luds.
Well, since our GM Ben is texting in and bugging you all the time, do we have a damn Discord party arranged yet? We're going to have some kind of a party.
We need to have
Yeah,
one,
we
but we
should.
don't have a Die Hard party yet, I don't believe.
Isn't that what they're supposed to be working on up there? I'm not sure what they do except bother you during the show.
Yeah, and wear competing soccer shirts and steal your sunglasses, apparently.
Although we got to cut them some slack. They did bring a couple tall boys in here yesterday.
It was a very nice gesture, and
I think I had 2 or
Except
3.
for Sam.
I had 2 or 3 of those babies.
No.
sips.
Sips, yeah, 2 or 3
Yeah,
sips.
okay,
of them.
yeah.
I was
You had to
feeling
get
it.
an Uber.
So, front office personnel did not receive that beverage, but the broadcasters that have. So apparently, it's beers and broadcasters on the DLS Stars
And
podcast.
glasses for some of us.
For one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not even our producer,
Not-
John. You didn't get him,
not
did you?
right, boss?
Shady Rays.
Not right,
Did you not
boss.
fill him out?
Yeah.
So you didn't fill it out? I saw Tanner in the social media video wearing them. So
Hey, Luds, how long have you
Hey,
lived in
Sam.
Texas?
How long?
Yeah.
Since we came here in 93, 94, whatever that was.
yeah, because he was on the North Stars.
So
You're
just,
going somewhere this
do you
aren't
just sweat all the time?
Do what?
Do you just sweat all the time?
I don't know where he's
Sweat.
going here.
Yeah. You
Perspire?
sweat just like all the time living here?
I think that's a good thing.
So you sweat a lot.
Okay, I'm going to play your game. Yes.
I'm really not.
Yes, I do.
I'm not being mean. I'm asking you. I'm only asking because I haven't stopped sweating since I moved here. And I've lived here before, so I was not
You were
expecting
trying to
to have
give me
such
a
a
hard
bad.
time when you were remote. When we first started, and I said,
'Cause I was
hey,
in
it's
air
100
conditioning.
degrees, and I walked 4 or 5 blocks to get to our studio. It was before we had the parking garage
Yeah.
right here. And I'd come in dripping because it was 100 out.
And I'd give you crap. And
Another non-sequitur.
I get it
We're supposed
back
to
now.
try to get people
I
to
think
like
they're gonna
and
have.
subscribe.
I think they're
on
gonna
this
have to
show.
replace.
Why do we got to listen to this?
They're gonna have to replace these cushions every 3 months if they keep putting me in here with the.
wear some underwear.
This.
I was waiting for it. I
And
knew it was
we're
coming.
and
So,
we're back.
Some
folks,
underwear.
if you're watching right now, the big revelation is that our boy Sam,
No.
not a big fan of the appropriate number of garment layers that you should be wearing, especially in a state with some heat where there might be some sweat.
Look at him. He just crossed his
I'm
legs.
trying to
And
make
so
sure.
Sam,
The lucky
Let-
people are
let
the
us
ones that
know
aren't
that
watching this show right now.
he may not always be wearing underwear. I don't even know where to go from there. John took the extra cover there. That was strategically placed. All right.
All right.
So, Stars are down 3-1 in the third period, and Logan
Let's get
Stankoven.
all pants on.
How about this? He scored 26 seconds after the Blues scored their third goal.
Yep.
He answers back. His score is at 11:40 from Lundqvist and Steele. And boy, great positioning by Stankoven and Luddy. I really like what Lundqvist did there.
Yeah. Great goal by Stankoven. I just heard you say it again.
No way I said Stankoven.
No, you
Fast.
didn't. We're going to run these back, aren't
Yes,
we?
have a
We're going to
sin bin.
run these
We'll do
back. Yeah, no, I mean, great job. But again, Stanky, I'm telling you, the motor on this kid, he's going to get 30-plus goals this year. I mean,
Some
you
say
think
40.
so?
Some say 40.
I can see it.
You
That's why
think
I said
30? You think
30 plus.
30 is a pretty realistic expectation for Stankoven's first full season?
I think so. I mean, again, I think it all depends on who you play with and get a little power play time, things like that. And I think he's going to get all that. I don't know how you keep him off top lines because he's just I said it, he's a dog on a bone when it comes to forechecking. He stops in front of the net. He does all the little things, and you don't see him try. Young players, a lot of times they get down below the tops of circles, and sometimes the ones that have the skill and the speed, they try to make these little moves, and a lot of them work. But he shoots the puck.
Yep.
He had a goal the other night too. He came in across top of the blue line or top of the circle, let it go, use the defenseman for a screen. He gets pucks to the net. I just think he's going to be above 200 in shots, maybe even more. I just think the way that he loves to get the puck on net and he knows to get it there. And we saw last year, he went 10, 11 games without scoring a goal?
Yep.
You would never known.
Yep.
I mean, he plays the game the same way. He's going to get rewarded.
He is also the last person on the ice very often, which is something we saw with certain guys.
You know who is like that? Jason Robertson's like that. He will be out there all day. He's just, and I say this in a very positive way. He's obsessed with. He just, they use the word rink rat.
Yep.
Because guys that just will go out there and tool around, but it's more than just killing time. They're tinkering, right, Luds? It's messing with things. It's changing. I mean, he scored that great bank goal in the playoffs.
It leads to
after
things.
Working with Wedgwood last year and finding those little soft spots in the RVH post lean, and
it's again. Let's get the ding ready. Joe Pavelski. They learn.
We were so close
from Joe. And again, habits are what you repeatedly do. And so these guys go through their routines before practice, after practice, and it becomes, like I keep talking about, muscle memory. And if they're shooting the puck or if they're making a little move, when they do it over and over again, that's what practices are for. I mean, the games are just your practices, like I talk about your systems and things like that. You do it enough, and then you get in a game, you don't have to think. You just know where to go. You know where to be. When it comes to Stankoven, I think he comes over the blue line. He gets near the top of the circle. If he doesn't see a pass, he gets the puck to the net.
Here's the thing, too, about you mentioned practice. You don't get that chance to do that in practice very often.
Right.
You might get a few shots in practice, or maybe during the original rushes, you get a couple rush shots, but you're not getting 6 one-timers from the circle, or you're not getting a chance to get the puck coming around the net and make that quick shot. So doing that stuff before and after practice is way even more important than the actual team practice, in my opinion.
Yeah, you have to have the confidence, especially with the one-timers. I mean, and where you like it, and some guys like it in their feet, some like it here and there, and they know that about each other. And again, you don't have that split second. That's all you have in a game. In practice, you can work on all those kind of things, but guys aren't going at 100%. I mean, you're not with somebody trying to take your head off. So that doesn't happen in practice because you kind of, I don't want to say go through the motions, but you're not out there trying to hurt people and things like that.
So I'm picturing this has to be right. Luds is out there well after practice, just asking Hatcher and company to just hammer slap shots into your shin pads, right? So you can get the reps, get the muscle memory.
No.
No, not quite.
No, I was the first guy.
Just
off
dropping
the ice.
down,
No,
hammering
I'm
them.
done. I'm out of here.
You
I got
put your
hit
time
enough.
in.
I was slow enough. I was getting hit all the time. But they did get they players did get mad at me. They're like, dude, you do it in games, you don't have to do it to us too. And it wasn't really it's just
habits, right?
It's just habit because for me, I needed to know where I was on the ice at certain times. And you can tell as a defenseman you're backing up and you peripherally you can see where the blue line is, and then you see the tops of the circles and you can see the hash marks. And so now you know where the net is, and so you can kind of position yourself. And I tried to make sure that I wasn't taking a shot that was too far off because goaltenders can make those saves, and I know that, and so you got to let them see that because I've done it in my career, and they're like, and it would hit me and go in the net, and hey, you don't need to stop that one. I can get that one. So, but again, those are things that you learn over time, and no, you don't. In practices, I wasn't trying to get hit with pucks. It was just I would just naturally kind of gravitate to where I should be during the game.
Then we get to the last minute and a half or so of the game. Stars pull their goalie. They almost give up an empty net goal, but it's icing on the Blues. They use their timeout. And wouldn't you know, in the final minute, Stars were pretty good at this, scoring 6-on-5 extra attacker goals a year ago. They did it again tonight. First, Hintz had a chance, pretty good angle. I don't know if you're the Blues, you're real happy letting an opponent get a good shot away interior on your 5-on-6 coverage, but he got inside. Good save by Binnington. Then Matt Duchene hit the crossbar from the right circle. And the guy that I think Luds is going to get lost in those big, chaotic scrambles around opposition nets, Logan Stankoven did it again. Second goal of the period, this time with 40 seconds left in regulation. Duchene and Marchment, the assists, and it's 3-3. We're off to overtime.
To me, that was all Duchene. I look at the pass. I was surprised that he didn't get forced a little bit behind the net because he had a lot of space. He picked it up in one corner, skates behind the net. He was able to get his head up the whole time. And we looked at it a couple times. Did you guys see a clean look at it? Did Stankoven get it out of the air or did it
It
land?
certainly didn't land flat and then hit his stick. If it landed, it landed
as he's shooting
on
it.
his blade,
One
basically.
motion, wasn't it? I think he hit it out of the air.
Yeah, it was close.
But you're right. Unfortunately, because this isn't a regular season TV broadcast with all the cameras that they typically use, we didn't get the slow-mo extra reverse angles that we can see. So all we could see was the one replay, and it's really hard to tell.
Yeah, but it looked
didn't
like
bounce,
as
that's
it
for
was
sure.
elevated off of Duchene's stick. It was up. To me, it was up too high in order to come down and land flat so quickly. But regardless of how it was, even if it didn't, it was a great hand-eye, and he got a lot of it if it didn't hit the ice.
So two problems for the Blues on that one. They, like you said, they didn't attack Duchene at all, and you can't attack too far out. You're 6-on-5, right? But they basically just, I think Parayko and the other defenseman just put up pillars right here on the post and let Duchene kind of do his thing. If you're going to let Matt Duchene behind the net,
Right.
forehand or backhand, he's going to make you pay.
Well, and the other thing is like as a defenseman or whoever's on that post you're talking about, make yourself big, make it difficult. Because the worst thing, especially with guys like Duchene that have their head up the whole time, if you can make yourself big and almost hug the net, he's going to take it a little bit wider because he'll say, I can't get it through here. So he takes it a little bit wider. And again, when you're, like when you're on a power play or penalty kill, the clock is your enemy when you're trailing, and so he knows he's got to get the puck up there. He doesn't know exactly how much time is on it, but I think we're pretty good at knowing time, because in our heads, that's all I see is a clock. I got like clocks in every room of my house.
Just about to say, of course you always see time. Your clock's on every wall.
Clocks on every wall. I have to know what time it is all the time. So, and it bothers me if you can't. But you always had to know time and score. And so the clock is ticking. But yeah, when you give a player as good as Matt Duchene that kind of time and that kind of space, he can make that backhanded play and put it right on the tape.
Well, speaking of time, we're very close to being done with time. This would be our 2-minute warning. So I have two things I want to get to real quick. First, Jordan Kyrou scored in overtime, 3-on-3. They win 4-3. I thought it was a really nice play by Robert Thomas. Not a great turnover in the offensive zone by Rope Hintz, but he does get back and cover pretty well.
Yep.
it was Lundqvist that was off of Kyrou. Is that harsh to blame Nils on that one?
Yeah, I still think you got to be in the right areas of the ice, but how many times do we see where one team controls the play down at the other end, especially on 3-on-3, and they cycle and they're around the outside, they go back and forth, next time you come down. Sometimes you just have to give the guys that are scoring the goal and making the pass some credit.
Yeah, I was actually looking at it, but he does come off the bench too, Kyrou. So it's kind of a weird scenario for Lundqvist, but Lundqvist does the right thing technically, goes back into his own area and defends the crease, but he does probably back off a little bit too much. But keep in mind, those are their two big guys, so they made a good play.
All right, finally, just a quick look at the 3 stars of the game, which I know is a very subjective stat, but I like to rip it when I think it's poor. All 3 stars tonight were St. Louis Blues.
Kyrou
was not part of the 3 stars.
Really?
St. Louis media selected it. Robert Thomas was
Broberg
third.
is in there.
Broberg is second, and Kapanen was number 1. Where's Logan Stankoven in this? He scored twice.
You just wanted to say his name the way you wanted to say it.
Said
Well,
right
what's the
last time,
order? What's the order
It's
they
in
had?
St. Louis. What do you expect?
What's the order they had there?
Kapanen 1, Broberg 2, and Robert Thomas 3. I thought all 3 players were good,
Yeah,
but
I put Stankoven in there somewhere.
I have a big problem with, again, I know 3 stars are not an official stat, even though they're on the official game sheet, which is kind of ironic. But in a 1-goal game, especially an overtime game, I have a very hard time, unless it's really obvious, that you shouldn't at least have 1 player from both teams.
And he scored 2 goals.
And Stankoven scored 2 goals.
Tied the game
And the
with
reason
the last
why
30
You
seconds.
just said Stankoven again.
He did?
I think you're hearing it now.
No, I'm not.
Stankoven.
I'm not even listening to you guys anyway.
Again, it's in St. Louis. It's in an opposing
Yeah, it
building. They
happens.
get 3 stars to their players.
Yeah.
They want to
Don't
cheer.
get
They
hung up
want
on
to
the
cheer
little
and throw the
things.
puck
Don't
into the
sweat little
crowd.
things,
And
man, move on.
But aren't
everything.
the details all the
Move
importance
on.
in these small
Move on.
margin of NHL? Ardell wrote in, Sam is barefoot. Does he smell like patchouli too? Beads for curtains and salad for breakfast.
I am not barefoot. I have flip flops.
Commando
Sam
Commando
is
Sam.
accurate though.
Sam is every
Oh, boy.
literally every
Maybe you'll get an undie pants
sponsorship.
read
Oh,
coming.
like what's that bare naked underwear they have? The
banana hammock thing. Maybe you'll get a read.
I don't even need to set this up. I could just let these 2 go.
oh man, let's go to bed.
Any final thoughts? It's preseason's now over. Stars are 5-1.
Thank God it's over.
I'm
They
so
have a
happy
week
it's over.
before the first game, and we'll have a show tomorrow. Luddy will not be here because he's playing in the Stars Big Heart Charity Tournament, which is
yeah,
a
I forgot about
wonderful hockey tournament, and he raised a lot of money for a really great cause. But we will also have shows on Monday and Wednesday next week before our first game, so we have lots of time to get the preview of the regular season going. Any final thoughts about tonight or the preseason in general?
I'm happy it's over. I want to see these guys go. They had a great preseason. I think there's a lot of positive things for the management and everybody that comes out of this. And I do believe that these guys are saying we're going to be a little bit better this year. So I want to see them play good stretches of games.
I'm just gonna say this is going to be a very good team. That's my opinion.
But not a perfect team. I
No.
think they
No.
have to go through the seasons, ups
Yeah.
and downs. So it's not going to be 82-0.
Tough to
We're
play
gonna
against.
learn-
Tough to play against every night.
We're going to learn some things in the first 15 to 20 games. Is the moves that they made, moves that they didn't make, whatever. And we'll see. I mean, we'll learn. You always do. You learn a couple things, and we'll see if as they move along, are they going to have, will they get down and make a move like they did last year at the deadline or in that neighborhood? So it'll be interesting, but it'll be nice to get it underway.
25 years after the Stars won the Stanley Cup, we get to see if this generation can follow in Craig Ludwig's and his team's footsteps as they sort of got closer and closer before finally getting over the hump and winning Lord Stanley's Cup. That's going to do it for tonight. We will be back on tomorrow afternoon. Our Friday show is at 2 o'clock Central Time. Sean will be back with us along with Sam. As I mentioned before, Luddy will be on the ice somewhere, so he will get the day off, as it will be a big-time finish to the week, finish to preseason. We'll get Sean's 2 cents on this game, the whole preseason. Might even ask him about line combinations.
Oh, boy.
And, hey, thanks for joining us tonight. Don't forget to follow, to like, subscribe, whether it's on the audio side, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the different streaming platforms, even YouTube. Let your friends know about it. We are growing, and we want you all to be a part of our coverage of the Dallas Stars all season long. For our producer, John Anderson, for Craig Ludwig, and Sam Nestler, I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Final score, The Blues 4, Stars 3 in overtime. Thus ends the preseason. So long, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.